Well, thank you, Kayla. Hello and welcome to the Christmas Eve trading day in Lagos, Nigeria. The stock market has been open since about 9:30 a.m. We expect close at about 12:30 p.m. today. But let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. All prices are up in a thin trade ahead of Christmas Day holiday, with prices supported by U.S. economic data and rising oil demand in India. As the world's third largest oil importer, we see Brent there 0.45%, $72.95 a barrel. U.S. WTI crude still not able to get to that $70 psychological level, still below it at $69.53, 0.42%. Let's quickly move on now to see what's playing out, or what played out in the FX market, and see for the NFM window, 1,535 naira. That was a close yesterday. Marginal gain about 0.08%. On the flip side, the NAFEX window will see a weakening there, with the naira closing at 1,550 naira against 1,548 naira, down about 0.12%. We'll see if we get some kind of Santa rally. That's for the FX market, and that means strengthening for the naira. To other stories now, the Securities and Exchange Commission has issued a stern warning to fintech companies seeking registration, stating that not all applicants will be granted approval. In a meeting with participants from the Regulatory Incubation and Accelerated Regulatory Incubation Program, the SEC Director General, Dr. Emomatimi Agama, emphasized the stringent standards that applicants must meet. Dr. Agama assured stakeholders that the Commission remains committed to transparency and fairness throughout the regulatory process, acknowledging its complexities. He highlighted that registration is a multifaceted process encompassing onboarding, ongoing monitoring, education, and robust risk management. And yes, it's still budget season, and we see the Imo State Governor, Mr. Hope Uzodimma, has presented an estimated budget proposal of 755 billion naira for the 2025 fiscal year to the Imo State House of Assembly. According to the governor, the budget, tagged budget of expanded economic opportunities, has capital expenditure pegged at 643 billion naira, representing 85.1% of the total budget, while recurrent expenditure is pegged at 112 billion naira, representing 14.9% of the total budget. Take a listen.
The infrastructural need of the state cannot be overemphasized. As the cities expand to the fringes, so are demands for roads, electricity extension, water reticulation, and etc., etc. The Ministry of Works shall be empowered to deliver remedial actions on dilapidated portions of our failed roads and bridges, while new critical roads will be constructed or reconstructed. Meanwhile, the state government shall complete works on the Owerri-Umuahia Road realization in the first quarter of 2025, while the Olong-Akokwa Road realization is also expected to be completed in the third quarter of 2025. Also, the world-class control post flyover will be completed in the first quarter 2025. I have set out our priorities. My goal is to concentrate on their faithful implementation so as to achieve maximum results. At the end of the day, I want Imo people to be happy that we are indeed on the path of sustainable economic development through this budget of expanded economic opportunities.
Moving along to Anambra State now, where we see Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo signed the 2025 appropriation bill into law during a brief ceremony at the governor's lodge at Anambra. The president at the event were key members of the State House of Assembly and the Executive Council. The governor announced that the signing marks the commencement of the implementation of the 2025 budget, valued at 606.99 billion naira, starting from January 2025. Expressing his gratitude, Governor Soludo commends the State Assembly for their diligence in ensuring the timely passage of the bill.
With this bill signed into law today, the Anambra State will then be ready to begin the journey to implement the 2025 budget with effect from January 1, 2025. We've consistently met the fiscal year starting January 1st to December 31st.
There you have it, with all the governors giving out their spending plans for 2025. What's the revenue plan and expenditure? We're definitely going to get more. 2025 definitely going to be an interesting year going forward. But it's Christmas Eve. Let's get a sense of what's happening at the commodities market. And we have Mr. Bismarck Rewane, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you, Mr. Rewane.
Good morning, and thanks for having me this morning.
Good morning. So, compliments of the season. But before we get into the market now, we see President Bola Tinubu had his first media chat, with some selected journalists addressing critical, national issues. What were the key takeaways for you? Anything the president said that we could say could turn out bullish, for the markets and maybe bullish for consumers this season?
I think, quite frankly, what he said was that it's going to have a market-driven economy and that it's determined to ensure that subsidies are reduced and that the process of subsidies are directed and targeted at the vulnerable. That was his speech. He also alluded to the fact that in a competitive world, that the consumer is going to be king and that the price of petroleum products are beginning to actually stabilize. I think those were generally his comments. He did also talk about the fact that the emphasis on revenues and the emphasis on investment. So I think those were expected comments, and quite frankly, what he said what he had to say, and obviously the markets would tell us exactly what the implications of that would be in the near term.
All right, so, bringing out, talking about, PMS prices, and, definitely we see that's been the Achilles heel for consumers at this point. But we're seeing the war, the price war kind of heating up now with MRS announcing that petrol is now being sold at 935 naira at all filling stations. That's their branches nationwide. They also added that if you find any station not following this price, consumers should actually report. So it shows that, we have some stations that might not want to, go with this new price. So I guess the question now is, how low can the price of PMS go, at this rate?
I think one thing that is important to note is that in an industry where there's an oligopoly, which is there are few suppliers and many buyers, the intensity of rivalry becomes very fierce at times. But there is a price leader and a price follower. What has happened clearly is the Dangote refinery is the price leader. They have 90 to 95% of the market share. They are producing at all, consistently and producing quality. Therefore, it is they that will determine, one, the price, two, governed by their cost. And the cost is driven by two things. One, the international price of crude, and two, the exchange rate, the Naira-dollar exchange rate. Those things are moving positively. So as a price leader, the Dangote refinery has come up to establish and take its sword in the ground to say, this is the price. The Ipman and others are bound to follow. So what we see now is that is Dangote refinery a responsible supplier in a market that is an oligopoly? Yes, they are. Two, they are willing to reduce their cost and pass that on to the consumer. So today, the price at the refinery gate is $8.99. The price at the market is $9.35, and Ipman is following. What will that price be in 4 weeks from today? 4 weeks from today, with the price of crude maybe at about $72 a barrel, with the Naira stabilizing, we saw some 7% appreciation yesterday. We think that it is possible that you will be able to bring that price to as low as 900 Naira. But the president warned yesterday in a speech that we do not want to subsidize our neighbors. Therefore, to me, as an economist, I think that the price of Nigerian PMS is going to be governed by two things. One, international price of good, but two, the price at which our neighboring countries are selling. If not, we'll be passing on some of the benefits to the neighboring countries. So, generally speaking, the important thing here is that the price of refined PMS, diesel and kerosene will come down based on what we see, and it will be sustainable into the months of January in 2025. In the oil markets, we really cannot start projecting much further than that. So by January 2025, you see the price there, and the effect of that is that inflation, the price of petrol and diesel is a major causative factor for inflation. And therefore, if these prices remain the way they are, then we will see that inflation will not begin to increase any further, will begin to moderate. The problem we have today is that the transporters, when the prices went up, they were very eager and fast in increasing their transport fares. But ever since the price started coming down, we have not noticed any reduction in transport fares. And we have not noticed any, like they say, prices are always sticky downwards. We have not seen that enthusiasm to actually bring down the general level of prices. So there's a lag between when policies are implemented and when the impact is felt. We think that in January, which is normal time for prices to come down after Christmas, the price of all of these commodities will begin to decline, and the price of transport fares begin to decline after the New Year ceremony.
Right. I guess I've not tasted this new price yet for PMS. I still have maybe the over 1,000 Naira one. That's in my tank right now. I need to try and get that before things change. But, Mr. Rewane, let's look at the oil market now. We're seeing some kind of recovery there for Brent and WTI, even though WTI is still sub $70 this morning. What are you seeing playing out in the global oil market?
I think one thing is that the winter started, so if you're buying into the futures, you are buying actually into the spring season, which is in March, 90 days forward from today. I think that what is clear is that Saudi Arabia and Russia want higher prices, but they don't want to rock the boat. Trump wants lower prices. So there's some kind of accommodation between all parties, consumers and producers. But the reality is that at $70 a barrel, which is where WTI is, and $72 a barrel for Brent, it is still $3 below our benchmark price for the budget. So as far as Nigeria is concerned, it poses a major revenue challenge for Nigeria, right? But for the consumer in Nigeria who is buying petrol, it could be a good thing. But as a country, as an oil producer in this situation, we are going to be having some challenges ahead. And we've also sold forward some of our oil. So our oil revenue is actually challenged. And the president made a remark yesterday to say that NNPC has not remitted anything and we have been able to meet our obligations. But that's not the ideal situation that NNPC must remit. NNPC must organize itself to be a major contributor to the revenue profile of Nigeria. So while it is good that we have a buffer to withstand the shocks of NNPC's inefficiency, we now have to begin to look at how do we reform those institutions so that each and every one of them can begin to contribute their own towards the goal. We have a very, very tough 2025 ahead of us. But like I say, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Right, the tough get going. I'm talking about being tough. How do you think the last-minute shopping, is going now? We're seeing that impacting on prices so far in the market. How are you seeing it?
Well, we've seen a noticeable increase in prices, and what amazed me was the rice is at 110, and onions is as high as 260,000, up 8%. Tomatoes are up 14% at 40,000, and pepper is up 30%. We think that because they are perishable, one, two, because the Christmas is only tomorrow and this week, those prices will increase until maybe later this evening. And as from tomorrow, we begin to see them flatlining, and then as from January 2nd, Thursday next week, we begin to see prices decline. But what is interesting though is that the Naira appreciated by 7% alone yesterday. Why? Because the bureau de changes are getting $25,000 a week from now till January 30th. Is it speculative depreciation, which means that the currency will start depreciating again in February? I'm not so sure. We had always said, and I've called it that by February, the currency will be trading at 1550. That was just our own arithmetical projection, but it just happens to be that it is going to play out. So if the currency value stays at 1550 in the parallel market, and you said just now that the NAFEM rate also went to that level, so there's some kind of convergence there. So from an economic perspective, those are efficient variables, and the way it's moving closer to its real equilibrium exchange rate. If all of this has happened, then you might see some stability, but we shouldn't get carried away by short-term directions of prices. In the long run, we need to increase productivity, we need to increase investment, and we have to stop the waste in government. I think those three things go together, and that's the key variable, that we need to stop the waste, we need to deploy resources efficiently, and we have to be patient, because this is not an overnight silver bullet. It's going to be a very hard struggle to get to where people begin to feel the impact and believe it the way it is.
All right, I guess, after the holidays, we'll gauge, maybe data will tell us how resilient the consumer was, and how the sellers were able to...
Do not buy too much, Ladi, don't buy too much.
Yeah.
Wait until January when the prices are coming down.
Yeah.
You can buy
then I'll buy my favorite live chicken, at that time.
Oh, yes. And don't forget, turkeys don't go for Christmas.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Rewane, thank you so much. Always great having your perspective on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, more conversations right here on Business Morning. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Well, see, the Enugu state government launched the Enugu Geographic Information System, that's ENGIS, an initiative aimed at revolutionizing land administration and use in the states. The platform promises to bring transparency, efficiency, and security to land transactions, making Enugu an attractive destination for investors. But join us to break it down more. We have Barrister Chimaobi Okorie as a Commissioner for Lands and Urban Development in Enugu. Great to have you on the show. Good morning, and compliments of the season.
Good morning, Ladi. Compliments of the season.
Fantastic.
Nice
so,
to be here.
Yeah, so we see, ENGIS, as it's popularly called, has gathered significant praise so far. Talk to me about the innovative aspects of this initiative and how does it address challenges related to land use and administration in the state?
Thank you, Ladi. The ENGIS, like you rightly noticed, has really gathered a lot of positive comments, from stakeholders, especially, stakeholders in the land ecosystem. And the reason is not far-fetched. What it is that the government of, His Excellency, Dr. Peter Mbah, the governor of Enugu State, has put in place this tool as an effective and efficient tool through which all the entire land resource of the state can easily be captured online. Now, it goes beyond just having that resource there. It's also a very interactive tool that would enable, would be investors, that would enable land users, land owners, intending buyers or intending subscribers to land to get on the platform, to interact, to do their searches, to do the regularization of titles, and even to apply for fresh allocations of land, at a click of button, at the comfort of the bedroom, at the comfort of your office. So it actually optimizes the process. It minimizes a lot of the human interferences and makes sure that it's what you ask for is what you get.
And talk to me, about the advantages here of this platform for both current and prospective, investors in the state? Because we know, some investors, they get driven away when they see some of the issues that come with land administration, most times, with issues around land grabbing and encroachment. So talk to me about how it addresses the concerns, of investors.
Thank you, Laddie. The software, the system essentially eliminates to, I could easily say, to zero, the challenges of land grabbing, the challenges of double allocation of lands, and all the menace that, were the stories in the past. Because what you find out is that when you run a search online, you're able to tell the use, first of all, of that land. If it's designated for residential area, for instance, you're quickly able to tell that. If it's designated for agriculture, you can tell from the platform. Then you can tell the neighborhood, you can tell the available plots, you can tell the size, you can tell the topography. So it makes it easy for you as an investor to have comfort. It also makes it easy for you to tell whether the land is actually designated for the purpose you want. And then, of course, it makes it easy for you to tell whether there is some other person on the land. You can tell the topography, you can tell the size of the land. Now, part of what it is, again, is that His Excellency, the Governor, Dr. Mba, had already promised in the Enugu, beyond just the deploying the GIS, that he was going to help unlock land assets. The governor at the time had realized that land was a sleeping asset to many. You have mansions, you have large expanses of land in the hinterlands, in the satellite parts of the state, which didn't have commercial value for users or for owners. So part of what we're going to achieve through this platform is that people are able to come forward and register title to every land, irrespective of whether it is, what we already designated as urban area or what is currently known as rural area. So the title becomes uniform. For your house deep down in the village, you can actually have a certificate of occupancy. And with that, you have unlocked that asset. It means that you can place that title for a mortgage, for a facility in your bank, you can trade with it. So it's not just the social or emotional satisfaction of building a mansion, in a village. It also quickly eliminates the challenges of, on lands without a valid title. Lands that you do not have anything beyond oral history or oral tradition that suggests that, okay, this land belongs to this family or to this community.
So I guess with this one, you don't run the risk of having to wait many years just to get governor's consent. His Excellency Dr. Mba has promised Indian Enugu and investors that you will get your certificate of occupancy within 48 hours. And that's the marching order we have, and that's our commitment to our investors. It's a process that is seamless. The governor has an interface with this system, so he's able to tell when there is an application, and once it's on his table, he's able to grant his consent or approval as the case may be. And then, of course, the certificate is issued. All right, break down the technology, behind this NGIS and how it functions in practice.
Yeah, simply put, it's called geospatial technology. And what it does is to mop up data, first of all, existing data. Recall that Enugu has already been a very old city. So you can imagine the quantity of data we have probably in manual form, paper form, manual files on land and on our land systems. So we have had to digitize all of that and, of course, upload them online. That's part of the technology, that's the back end. And then after that process, we have now got a system where the entire landscape of Enugu is visible online. So the process simply requires an applicant to go online. Of course, as a transition, we are happy to have people walk in as well to the office premise, the NG's office, and interact so that they can be guided. You walk online, the forms are available online, very simple and very user-friendly forms. You put in your essential details, and then it gives you the options. The option of regularization of title, the option of doing a land search, and the option of applying for a fresh land allocation. So when you pick your option, it takes you to the next level, where you now put in your critical details. After that, of course, it expectedly takes you to a payment platform, which is also online and seamless. So it's when we say 48 or 72 hours, it's actually to say a worst case scenario. It's actually a process. On the day of the launch, people were able to test run it, and they could do it actually within 10, 20 minutes.
All right, very quickly now, before I let you go, definitely interesting technology there. But what message would you like to, convey to investors regarding the opportunities, presented by this platform, with improved investment climate expectations in Enugu State?
Thanks, Ladi. His Excellency the Governor will usually say that tomorrow is here. That's our catchphrase in Enugu, and that has become our reality. So my message to investors and would-be investors is that today is just the right time to invest in Enugu. Of course, we know the relevance of land to practically every kind of investment you want to make, be it real estate, be it industry, be it to build a home, be it tourism. Land plays a critical role. And so my message, the message of Enugu State, the message of His Excellency Dr. Peter Mba is that investors should take this opportunity. They should come into a friendly and welcoming Enugu State. They should come into a de-risked land ecosystem. We have taken off the risks that investors ordinarily are not wired to take. The risk of land grabbing is out of it completely. The risk of, having the wrong use of land, a land that was meant for agri being given to you for residential purposes is out of it. The risk of multiple allocation of title is totally out of it. So we urge investors to come into Enugu. Today will definitely be a lot better than waiting till tomorrow, because like we would say, tomorrow is here already.
All right, we'll keep tracking to see progress of this platform, going into 2025. But thank you so much, Barrister Chimaobi Okorie, Commissioner for Land and Urban Development in Enugu State, and compliments of the season.
Many thanks, Ladi. Compliments of the season.
Thank you. All right, so that's the show today. Member markets are open right now, but closed. That's for 12:30. That's because it's going to be a thin trade today, and we know it's the public holidays are upon us at this point. So I guess you're not going to be trading too hard at this point, but hopefully you get that rally that you've been looking for. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. I hand things back to the Sunrise Daily team.
The Minister of State for Defense